Hello, this is Sandip Jadhav. I have done my MSc Physics, and in this demo lecture we are going to discuss the coordinate geometry. So let's start. So to define the coordinates of any point, we must first define origin or reference point. So what is the origin? That is the question, right? So if you consider one example, as you can observe in the slide, if there are two places or 2 points or two cities, let us say it is A and B, and the distance between these two cities, let's say it is 20 kilometer. So if you are saying the city B is at 20 kilometer from city A, that means to describe the city B you are using A as a reference point. And if you are saying like this, the city A is at 20 kilometer from city B, that means you are using B point as a reference point. So whatever the reference point you are using, that is nothing but the origin. So we can define the origin in this way: the standard point used as reference to describe the position of other point, that standard point is known as origin. So how we can easily represent any point in a given two-dimensional as well as three-dimensional plane, that is with the help of two or three mutually perpendicular axes. If point is 2D, then we can represent that point in two-dimensional way with the help of x and y axis. And if it is a three-dimensional, then we can use three mutually perpendicular axes x, y and z. So let us move ahead. What is Cartesian system? That is the next question. So whenever we are representing a point in a given plane, then we need to represent it in two or three ways. That means if it is a two-dimensional, then we can use x and y axis, and if it is a three-dimensional, then we need to use x, y and z axis. So do you remember the number line? Whatever the numbers are on the right hand part of the 0 are known as positive integers, whereas the numbers on the left hand side are negative integers. Somewhat similar is the case here, as you can observe in the slide. So the numbers above the x-axis are positive, below the x-axis are negative. That can be considered on the basis of sign conventions. So how to represent that we are going to see. Now we will see what is meant by quadrants. So there are 4 quadrants. How these are formed? When these two mutually perpendicular axes cut each other, intersect each other, that means they are dividing the plane into 4 parts, and these 4 parts are known as quadrants. We need to move anti-clockwise to number the quadrants. For example, the first quadrant is between positive y-axis and a positive x-axis. Similarly, the second quadrant is in between negative x-axis and positive y-axis, and so on. So, this particular plane in which we are describing the point is known as coordinate plane or xy plane or Cartesian plane. So, any number that we are going to, any point that we are going to represent here is to be under Cartesian plane. So how to represent a point in a Cartesian plane? That is the next question, right? So to represent particular number or a point in a Cartesian plane, we need to consider two coordinates, that is x coordinate and y coordinate. So any number can be represented with the help of these two coordinates, and it is always represented as in bracket x comma y. So this is unique way. You cannot write y comma x. You can write, but for another particular point. For same point we cannot write. So this shows the uniqueness of this particular point in a given plane. So the coordinates needs to be always written x comma y. where x coordinate is known as abscissa and y coordinate is known as ordinate. So what is x coordinate? It is simply the perpendicular distance of a point from y axis, which is also called as abscissa. And what is y coordinate? It is perpendicular distance from x axis, which is also called as ordinate. Let me elaborate this with the help of one example. So as you can observe here, there are so many points here. Let us discuss any 2 points. So let us say the first point 1, 2. So as we already discussed, any point can be represented as x, y. That means here x coordinate is 1 and y coordinate is 2. So x coordinate, that is 1, can also be called as abscissa, and y coordinate, that is 2, which is also called as ordinate. In other words, we can say yx coordinate is 1 because it is, if you draw a perpendicular line from y axis, it is at 1 unit distance, right? Similarly, y coordinate is 2 because if you draw a perpendicular line from the point to the x axis, you will get 2 units. So that is why 1 is here abscissa, that is x coordinate, and 2 is ordinate, that is y coordinate.